The world's richest man continues to run roughshod across the US government on behalf of the ruling class and white supremacy. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers have been fired or put on leave as Elon Musk and his strike force of Zoomer dipshits infiltrate highly sensitive systems in clear violation of several laws. And new reporting reveals that Musk's so-called DOGE team isn't just reviewing and analyzing the trillions of dollars of payments that pass through the Treasury. They now have permissions to modify the payment system itself. Wired reported that a 25-year-old former employee of Musk's, named Marco Elise, not only has read privileges, but also editing privileges within the Treasury Department's Payment Automation Manager and its secure payment system at the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. A massive chunk of federal payments are administered through these secure mainframes. Someone with that sort of access to the system can change the underlying software code and can block, modify, or delete payments. And according to Talking Points memo, changes are already being written into the system. Quote, "The changes that have been made all seem to relate to creating new paths to block payments and possibly leave less visibility into what has been blocked." So the plan is to not only cut off payments to individuals and groups and projects that Elon Musk doesn't like, funding that has already been approved by Congress and signed into law, by the way, but the code changes could also allow Musk's team to hide their tracks and make it more difficult for those affected by this to seek relief. And that's if everything goes smoothly. Federal IT systems run on antiquated, fickle software in which one coding error can create a cascading failure that could bring the entire payments database down, triggering a governing and economic crisis. And if you're familiar with how buggy and degraded Twitter has become since Musk took over, then this possibility can't be discounted. Essentially, what's happening here is that the Trump administration has figured out it can enact a large portion of its spending cuts and purge agenda immediately and without Congress by simply controlling the levers at key agencies that oversee the federal workforce and the payment systems. And they can carry out this agenda largely in secret, with no accountability. And Elon Musk, a Nazi who has more conflicts of interest than perhaps anyone else in the entire federal government, is sitting at the very top of this initiative, directing it. Earlier this week, it was reported by Muskwatch that the DOGE team had connected a private server at the Office of Personnel Management that would allow them to also extract the information about millions of federal workers, including personal identifying info, medical histories, and workplace evaluations. Well, NBC is now revealing that individual workers across the Department of Health and Human Services have been labeled as targets and had their names, photos, and other information posted on a website called the DEI Watch List. The website was created by a conservative group called the American Accountability Foundation, and most of the federal workers targeted on the site are Black. This is from NBC. Quote, "The site lists workers' salaries along with what it describes as DEI offenses, including political donations, screenshots of social media posts, snippets from websites describing their work, or being a part of a DEI initiative that has been scrubbed from a federal website." Now, whether this is related to Musk's extraction activities at OPM or not is yet to be determined, but it fits within Musk's broad campaign of intimidation across the entire federal workforce. It also fits in with a project promoted by a new Trump hire at the State Department, Darren Beatty, a white supremacist who posted on Twitter a few months ago, quote, "Competent white men must be in charge if you want things to work." Increasingly, these guys are comfortable with saying the quiet part out loud. Now, when it comes to opposition to all of this, Democrats have been caught flat-footed. They've convened press conferences, staged photo ops outside departments that are being gutted by Musk. They've introduced legislation that won't go anywhere, all while continuing business as normal in Congress, including confirming Trump's cabinet nominees in the Senate. For example, just yesterday, Trump's Attorney General pick, Pam Bondi, was confirmed in another bipartisan vote, with Senator John Fetterman joining Republicans to approve the nomination. Thanks again, John. Aside from mass protests in the streets, the only viable resistance right now seems to be through the courts. A number of labor unions and advocacy groups sued the Treasury Department and its Secretary Scott Bessent. Bessent is the one who gave Musk access to the sensitive payment systems that have personally identifiable information of hundreds of millions of people who transact with the government. The unions argue that this was done in violation of the Privacy Act of 1974. This is from the lawsuit, quote, "People who must share information with the federal government should not be forced to share information with Elon Musk or his DOGE. And federal law says they do not have to. The Privacy Act of 1974 generally, and the Internal Revenue Code with respect to taxpayer information make it unlawful for Secretary Bessent to hand over access to the Bureau's records on individuals to Elon Musk or other members of DOGE." The lawsuit asked the court to kick Musk and his team out of these systems and to secure them from future breaches like this. It's not yet clear if that will even work, though, because already there are indications that the Trump administration is willing to ignore court orders. This week, a federal judge put a hold on Trump's illegal spending freeze, yet Head Start programs across several states are reporting that they still can't access critical funds and may soon have to start closing preschools. And Trump is reportedly preparing another illegal executive order to dismantle the Department of Education, something he obviously can't do on his own, but I'm not entirely sure who or what is stopping him at this point. Worth remembering that any cost savings achieved through this shock campaign against the federal government and its workforce will just go toward tax cuts for the rich and Trump's mass deportation program. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our new videos. Also, if you want to see Means Morning News in its complete form, not just the clips we post here, head on over to Means TV and get access to all our new episodes and our entire backlog, plus tons of other great movies and original TV shows.